Hello, and welcome to today's episode of Rawkode Live. I am your host, Rawkode. Today, I don't even know what episode number we're on, but we are continuing our exploration of running Laravel in a production fashion on Kubernetes. Last week, I was joined by Alex and Kieran, and we had a little bit of trouble or problems getting a Laravel middleware to expose or export Prometheus metrics to be scraped to allow us to horizontally scale. Fortunately, our friend Leo is here to help us today, who has, and funnily, I don't know how serendipitous this timing was, but you actually had written this exact bit of middleware that we needed just prior to that episode. Is that right?
Yes. So I was talking to you, I think, like the day before or something, and I was looking into Prometheus. And so I wrote that, and then I completely missed the episode, and I was rewatching it after. And as soon as I was like, all right, I just wrote this yesterday. It would have been real good to watch this live and just link to the package.
Yeah, that would have been invaluable, I think, that day. We tried two different packages, Alex and I, and just didn't get anything to work. Very disappointing.
No, nothing worked. We ended up hard coding it. Nothing worked at the end of last episode. But hopefully today's a different story. So
yeah, no pressure, Leo. All right. Okay, forgive my manners. Let's do quick introductions. We'll start with you, Alex. We'll move over to Leo, and then we'll get started again.
Cool. Yeah, I'm Alex. I'm a PHP Laravel developer that dabbles a bit in Kubernetes and getting a bit closer towards dealing with that more in production, hence doing these streams with David.
Yeah, and I'm Leo. I'm the CTO at Jobilla. We build recruitment software. We're a very small team, so I do pretty much all of the DevOps side of things, which is why I've been doing the monitoring and Kubernetes things here, which is why I'm now here to hopefully not break things.
Well, fingers crossed. All right. I guess what we should just do is get the screen shared, quickly run over it in under 3 minutes where we are again, and then just let's try and get your library imported, running, and then we'll tackle the scalability side with Kubernetes. All right. Let's see. So this is the repository, github.com/alexbowers/laravel-example-project. I don't think I even pushed last week's failure to it, but we'll do that after today when it works. I have VS Code. Leo has kindly joined me. Good, because you'll be fixing everything that I do. And we have a makefile which has our build targets, which I did this time build ahead. So we do have two container images. We can deploy this to Kubernetes. So let's just do that first, confirm that it works, and then integrate Leo's library. So if we open our Kubernetes directory, I think we can probably just reapply all of this. I don't think, did we? Yeah, we did add some Prometheus stuff that I am going to nuke. And we'll do that clean.
Do we not want to keep any of the Prometheus stuff?
No, because the service monitors weren't working last week, and it looks like it's just a bug in the operator that we were using. So I have gone ahead and deployed my own Prometheus to the cluster, and we're going to configure it the old-fashioned way. We're not going to use the service monitors on the operator this time. So it's just I'm more familiar with it this way. I don't want to have to try and fix the bug in an open source project in our stream, and I didn't have time prior. So let's apply our operations Kubernetes directory, and this should get our application up and running in just about 10 to 20 seconds. So we'll give that a few moments, confirm that it works. I guess what we can do just now is start to pull in your library, Leo.
Yes, you can start pulling it in, but that will not work. So what you will have to do is actually install the APCU extension in PHP. So that is a user level cache, which the underlying Prometheus library uses that instead of Redis. That is a choice I made in the library. So instead of Redis, it uses the APC user cache, which allows you to get kind of an in-memory store to store between requests, which is how it's storing the request count and stuff like that.
All right. I'm so glad I built all that stuff beforehand.
Yes. But it should be 2 lines in the Docker file, so I think we're good.
Yeah, but actually, we didn't have a working cache if I remember right from last time. Anyway, yeah, okay. So
No, the composer stuff was all wrong.
we will fix the cache now, then, right? So we can just do this. We'll see if this builds. Normally, there's a small. Why is that copying it to such a random place? Actually, oh, that's just where we copy everything. Okay, no worries, because we're using the worker. I swear I'm okay at this stuff. Okay, so we have the composer.json. We're going to do the composer install. Sometimes I think Laravel does fail with that because of the something, but let's just see what happens. All right. Can I just do run docker php ext install apcu?
I am not sure if it'll work with PHP ext install. I've used PECL, so PHP extension library manager, whatever it's called. We can try it with PHP ext install. It may or may not work. Otherwise, there is a simple way to do it, which will just be 2 lines instead of 1.
Why don't we just do a entry point bash, jump inside this? Surprised that image isn't there, considering I've already built the image. Oh, it does. Yeah, it's just a bit slow. And this is Alpine, so we want to run Ash. Okay, so Docker extension install is APCU on the list. No. Okay, so we're doing the PECL approach.
Yes.
And you're saying the command is PECL install APCU?
Yep, that's all. And then what you want to put in the Docker file is also docker php ext enable apcu.
All right, well, we had our first snag installing that. Of course
Excellent.
we did.
You need to install autoconf, I guess. So
We'll need build.
There is actually, if memory serves, a $phpis_deps that you can use in the build step, which has all the phpis dependencies. So it's an environment variable that you can use with the Alpine images.
Okay. So you're saying if I run the PECL install again, but with an environment variable?
No, sorry. So it's just a list of packages that you pass to APK.
All right, gotcha. Okay, so
PHPI's depths. Yeah, looks good. Third from the bottom.
Yes.
All right. How did I not see that? Okay.
So it's just APK add PHPI's depths.
Yeah, I don't know why this is 3 ads, but whatever. I'm going to tell you.
It was because I did them one at a time and I didn't want to have to redo the old ones, which had already done.
Yeah, presumably the build cache, right?
Yeah.
And we'll need an update.
But if we have to rebuild anyway, then I guess, yeah.
Okay. So we want to use Leo's library. We need EPCU. We're using that instead of an external Redis. I've added the PHP as depths. This should allow me now to run a PECL install APCU. And let's just confirm. Like, I'll run this.
You need to delete line 9 as well, because you've got the doc line in there still.
I will just do that. There we go.
Line 6, yeah.
Thank you. Okay, PECL. And we expect this to work. Hopefully it's nice and quick, and then we can rebuild our images. I didn't really want to question. I wonder if that's going to block my build.
It will not, because it will default when it's non-interactive.
Good. That's what I like to hear.
I know this because this code runs in production for me, so it should work. And we do use 7.4 FPM Alpine as the base.
You're already throwing all of your excuses out the window for when this doesn't work. You need to save some of these. Okay.
I am fully confident.
There's no help anyway, so I'm just going to go with that. And then you said we wanted to run Docker PHP extension enabled APC.
Yeah, and that is what adds it to the PHP ini file.
Okay, so we need one more command: Docker PHP extension enabled and APC. All right, so this modifies our base image. This should mean that anything we build subsequently down will have it. We have moved this composer up, this composer install up to try and keep our cache here, but we are about to make a change to composer.json, so why don't we do that first so that we don't have to do 2 builds? Yep. So I'll let Leo do a little bit of typing. You want to show us how to install your library?
Yes, I need to actually remember what it's called. There we go. The easy way to do it is just going straight into the documentation and following that.
Do you want me to pull up the docs for your library? Where is it, by the way? We should tell people. So github.com.
Yes, it's github.com/Jobilla/Laravel Cloud Native Utilities. It also has a bit of defaults for like logging configuration. I kind of just tossed everything into one place.
All right. So,
but I have added it now, so that should be good to go. This is the release I just tagged a moment ago with PHP 8 support, so that shouldn't break anything else.
Shouldn't is my favorite word on this show, mate. I'm telling you now. Okay. Let's try and build this then. So we've got 2 make targets. I'm only going to build FPM. We don't need to worry about Nginx again. I really just want to check that Docker file. I'm going to move artisan up because I know there's weird behavior if that doesn't exist. We hit that on a previous episode, but I think we're okay without the rest.
You can get around the artisan problem if you want to do that as well. I mean, I'll just talk through it because we're waiting for the build anyway. Yeah. The way you do that is to run --no autoloader, which will prevent running the scripts. And then you run dump autoload after copying in the app files. That way it will be able to run all the scripts and autoloader and stuff, and it doesn't need artisan ahead of time.
Yeah, there was another weird issue though with
Laravel mix
on the assets.
Requires the JavaScript compiling stuff for Webpack requires artisan as a file to exist. It uses that to find out the Laravel root, which took a long time for us to find on a stream. But yeah.
All right. Well, hopefully this image builds relatively quickly. If I remember right from last week, it's around the 90 seconds mark, so it's not too bad. And then we should be in a position where we can just start instrumenting. Is it all auto instrumenting then, this library?
Yes. So there is a configuration file for it. So yeah, the installation docs there is a command you can run to publish a config file. By default, it's going to expose a /metrics endpoint. And I think it has quite sensible buckets of 0.1, 0.2, 0.345, 0.75, 1, 2, and 5 seconds or something like that. It's a lot of buckets. There's like 10 of them or something.
All right. Well, that should give us a lot of flexibility then when it comes to adding our horizontal pod AutoScaler. So
I did also... Yeah, sorry. I did add just a couple of days ago the support for changing that in the config. So if you do want to change the buckets, you can publish that configuration file as well.
Well, you know I'm going to test that now.
Yes, of course. I have not tested it, but that'll be interesting.
We'll see what happens. I'm curious. Like, you're using this in production at Jobilla, right? So are you using a horizontal pod AutoScaler in your Kubernetes setup at the moment?
We are not using it at the moment. Largely we have a very stable load, and we survive fine on honestly like one pod, one replica, maybe 2. We don't really need to scale up a lot. We do have quite a lot of resources for each pod, so it is running quite fine. Also, I did write this library like last week, so I just have not had time to do it. But I'm making up the excuse that we don't need it.
You're getting it. You just got to get those in early.
So at the moment, are you basically using it in production just to gather the metrics rather than to make use of the metrics?
Yes. Literally gathering them because we barely have a functioning Grafana setup as well. I probably shouldn't be saying these kind of things on the stream if I want to attract people to like work with me. No, we have a beautiful environment. That doesn't look good.
No, requirements could not be resolved.
It looks like you require a certain guzzle installation in one of your dependencies.
Yeah, I don't. Yes.
Because we're requesting 7.0.1, and they're saying 6.
Yes. Yeah, so that's requested by the Prometheus client library.
All right.
If in doubt, 6.star, why not?
Is that how you do it? See, I was trying to remember, but I haven't read
Well,
the line.
you can just do greater than 6.0, yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
I don't know if does greater than work with asterisks. I'm not sure. Also, it is the up caret. Yep, all good.
All right. That should
think
start
this
from
will
our
work.
composer step anyway. So let's see.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
No, it does not like that.
Okay, you
one
can't
bit.
do a chevron and a star. Just do chevron.0. Yeah.
We're professionals. We know what we're doing.
I'm not. I'm relying on you two. There we go. It's happy.
Right.
Nice.
That looks better.
And I'm pretty sure there was nothing in my code that was using Guzzle at all, so nothing else should break. There's the artisan issue. Okay, you need to copy Bootstrap. It might be worth just putting the composer install back where it was.
Yeah, let's just do everything. I don't want to fight with that. I don't want to fight with that today. I've fought with it in the past. I don't have it. I don't remember the solution at the top of my head. We'll deal with that later.
Yeah. I think it's probably what Leo said before. Make it so it doesn't do any of the scripts afterwards, and then run them yourself after you copy the rest of the files.
Yeah, let's just get this deployed. I want to see this metrics endpoint work. I want to configure the buckets, and then we'll start scaling.
Oh, I already do the dump auto load after the fact as well. That's interesting. Oh well.
Okay, we have our images. Now we're just building the same tag, so that means that if I do a get pods, all I really need to do here is delete our Laravel pod here, and we're only running one. This will trigger it to use the new image. I'm going to port forward, hit metrics. In fact, we've only added it to composer.json. Is there any other steps, Leo?
No, that should be it, or it should do something. I guess we'll find out if it does, right?
Do we not need to add it to like some configuration or?
No, Laravel has auto discovery. That's what was mentioned last stream when we had to start finding which file to add the references to, and somebody was saying about auto discovery. That's one of the things that came in like.
Okay, so
Laravel
we have our
6, I think.
posts, we have our homepage. Do we have metrics?
As the moment of truth, we do.
No, we did hard code some metrics last week though. Have you removed the hard coded ones? Because I think we put our own.
No,
No,
this is
that's
the
nine.
hard coded one. Yeah. So what happens is the library registers its own route, but if you register the same route afterwards, then your route will take precedence.
Yeah, we just need to go into roots, and it'll be in web. Web.php.
Oh yeah, that's my.
Yeah, just delete that. Yeah.
Right. I was like, oh, it works. My library works. Everything is fine.
It does work.
I had my
We've
faith.
just not confirmed it yet. Don't worry, it's coming. All right, quick rebuild then.
Yeah, and this is where we need to do some more work on the composer on the Docker file
Yeah,
because we haven't changed any of our dependencies. But
because we are going to change this time and time again today. So
yeah,
we're only going to really change app and roots, right?
yes.
So it's like maybe we can get away with that.
Mm-hmm.
Probably.
In which case,
Oh no,
we're
going to configure the buckets, and I'm assuming that'll be in config. So why don't we try it with these two? And if it doesn't work, we'll just have to deal with the rebuild every time, I think. So let's trigger the one more, and while that does it, I'm going to kill our pod. We'll check this metrics endpoint. So that's deleting. We can then do a port forward. I really should have checked the name. Oh, that failed again. So I think we're just going to have to deal with the thing for today. Oh, I don't think it worked. It worked. I saw that look at Leo's face, or he was worried.
I told you, I had full confidence in my code here.
I think the challenge was me being impatient on the first load, but I think we're good. Okay. So that worked. We have metrics. Let's jump back over here, and we just have to unfortunately deal with that. So let's try not to make too many changes on the PHP side. And if we do need to make them, we should probably just make them now and kick off that rebuild while we do some of the.
If you want,
Prometheus.
because we're only dealing with the metrics now, I suppose we could also just do the no autoloader step right away, because we're not dealing with any issues related to resources. Probably, at least there's no build step related to mix. So if you just do -- no autoloader, you can have it right after the composer JSON copy.
Yeah, that will help us.
Yeah, I just want to make sure we don't spend too much time staring at this.
Yes, I'm hoping this should be quicker though.
Oh, it looks like it's maybe getting a bit further than it did. Is it happy? Is that our last ever composer install? Oh, there we go. Nice.
I think it's very optimistic to call it your last composer install.
Ever. And done. Okay, I'm really happy with that. So, what do we need to do now? Well, we want to start scraping the metrics. Let me grab.
Yeah, so we need to get the data into Prometheus, I guess, don't we?
Yes. Now, the old school way of doing this is to modify the deployment. Oh, we're not using Linkerd anymore, although I did prefer that approach, but that's fine. These are the 3 annotations that tell Prometheus to scrape within Kubernetes. I think we're running on port 80, so we'll just leave that open.
Is that the port inside of the container?
It is, yes.
Yeah, port 80, yeah.
So we just tell Prometheus that we want to scrape by setting this to a string true. We tell the endpoint to scrape and the port number. Most of these are, in fact, I'm pretty sure 80 and /metrics are the defaults, and I could remove them, but I'm not going to. Just trust me. That's always worked out well. We're going to reapply our Kubernetes manifests, like so. We're going to get pods.
There's still stuff in there about POM. Are they still needed? Because they were put there last week for our attempts.
Sorry, can you say that again? What's in here?
Go to the top. Line 14, 19. Are those still necessary? Because we put those in last week.
No, that was when we were trying to target the service monitor, and it was that bug.
Yeah, okay.
We can reapply, and actually, you can't change them, so they're immutable. Deploy Laravel. Let's just nuke it and then reapply over the top. All right, let's see where we are. So, give that one more second. Okay, it is running. I want to make sure we have some metrics that we can scrape with Prometheus. So I'm just going to port forward one more time, at least for now, one more time. Hit the metrics endpoint.
Do you need to hit a different URL to get metrics first?
Yeah, I think that's the issue. There you go.
You might be correct.
Yeah.
Yes.
Cool.
So there's just no metrics up front. That's all it is. Nothing's came through and hit. Not a big deal. But we do have some stuff here. So what we really want to check now is that if I browse to Prometheus, 1, we should see that there's a target that wants to be scraped. 2, we should see some metrics. And 3, maybe that'll all work. So I'm not going to port forward to that anymore. Instead, I'm going to port forward to our Prometheus server, which runs on port 9090. Localhost 9090. We have our Prometheus UI. Now, if we come into targets, oh, come on.
Oh, there we go.
Is it there?
I saw something with 8080 on there.
But we're targeting 80, right?
Oh, shit. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what is going on there? Yeah, that's a Kubernetes service. This is where my expertise ends because I set this up with a service monitor and I was all happy.
Yeah.
So this is on David to figure out.
There was another tab on the status called Service Discovery. Would that have any bearing on it or not? Because I assume that we'd be listed as a service on there, right?
Maybe it's just not picked it up yet, to be fair. Don't think we have anything here. No. Oh, wrong page. Yeah, so we should be showing up here based on those annotations. So let's quickly check I haven't messed anything up. So we got a question that I'll throw to Leo. William asks, should normal setup health checks generate some initial metrics? So yeah, the probes, if we had probes on our deployment, I can't remember if we do, those should probably populate the first
They would. Yeah, they would. And I think a question here as well is, would you really want that? Right now, the way the library works is it excludes all requests that hit the /metrics route, but nothing else. So it might make sense to add support for excluded routes. I'd imagine you might not want the health check timings necessarily. I don't know if you want that in your metrics or not.
Okay, good question. I don't have any labels here. Did I put them in the wrong place? Why is my alt tab not working? There we go.
Yes.
Yep.
You did.
It should be on the template.
Yes. It's metadata one more.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
Right.
Whew. Okay.
I'm sure everything will work now.
I'm glad one of us.
This is your first stream, I guess, then, is it?
It's the first stream where I'm participating. Like everything has worked so far, aside from not being able to build the container and a few other things.
Except for my stuff, you mean? Thanks for that. Okay, so that's now running.
All good.
Okay, so we'll need to hit a few routes again to get some data back on it, won't we? So you'll need to port forward it again.
That is correct. Port forward this pod here. There's something called Kube Forward.
Terminating.
There is a project called Kube Forward that actually exposes all of your services locally. I really should just start running that for these streams, but we'll make do for today. All right, so let's hit post, homepage, and then we should see some nice metrics in here. Perfect. What I want to see in the targets now is our Laravel application. And now we do need to maybe wait the scrape interval.
How long? What is the interval?
I believe I have it set to 10 seconds.
Okay.
And if that doesn't work, I'll gently nudge Prometheus and we'll see what happens. But we are in the same namespace. Sorry, I know I'm getting a bit tab crazy now, but let's see. Everything is in default. So I would expect the Prometheus to be scraping our Laravel application just now, unless I've got anything wrong. Let's see if the labels are on the pod. That's the annotation, sorry. Yeah, looks all right. When did Prometheus start hating me? All right, what have I got wrong? Let's nudge Prometheus. So get pods, delete pod. Should be just starting now. Yep. So we can port forward. And
You spelled forward wrong.
thank you.
I saw something there, /metrics with no port on it. Which would imply, I guess, port 80?
No, it's monitoring itself, though.
Oh, is that yourself? Oh, okay.
Yeah, our stuff is not showing up. Fabulous.
Is it definitely on the same namespace?
They are on the same namespace, yes. They are.
Do you need to change anything on Prometheus' side to tell it what labels to look for?
No. No, but we do have buckets. So this is my application, and these match what we have here. So why don't we test that just quickly? Root equals /post. Did I get that wrong?
There's no slash on it.
Actually, yeah,
just post.
Okay, we are getting our metrics. It's obviously just hidden in our targets somewhere, and I'm scrolling past it. Oh no, there's there.
Yeah, that's what I was on about. Yeah. I'm not going to say it's all good.
All right, good. Everything is working. We have our metrics. We can, in theory, apply an HPA and scale this based on the response time rig. One of the things that I think is really important with pod auto-scaling, right? We talked about this a little bit last week, but scaling on CPU utilization or memory doesn't give you any indication of what an experience your end user or customers are getting. Always better to scale on the response time. Like, I'm assuming, Leo, do you have any SLAs or an ideal response time that you expect your customers to get a response from?
So we don't enforce any SLAs, but we are trying to keep a 95p of 200 milliseconds on the API. I would like to have that down to 150 ideally. And I would agree that especially with PHP applications, it's even more important that you don't scale, particularly on memory, because if you want to optimize your setup, you want to be running with a static number of FPM processes. So you're basically going to have static memory consumption.
Yep. All right. And do you want to tell everybody what P95 is?
Yes. So the 95th percentile. So 95% of the requests going in under that amount of time. So 200 milliseconds for 95% of the requests.
Exactly. All right. Now, before we go throwing the HPA on this, then, why don't we run Siege against this post endpoint? Like right now, we can see that our buckets are, well, nothing is responding in under 500 milliseconds. So really, we're going to start to see, hopefully, plus 5 seconds, plus infinity buckets really start to fill up over the 0.5 to 0.75. But why don't we try and emulate this in a way that maybe is real world day? Is that a word? It is today. So we used Siege last time, right? And we didn't really tune any parameters. Is there a way we can just throw?
Just hit port 18. Sorry, go on.
That's all right. How can I just want to send a couple of hundred requests to this. I don't want to overwhelm the system. I just want to see a few buckets fill up with some data. Is there a flag?
There's
you can
-C, right?
-C is concurrency. -T is how long it should run for. I don't know if you can set the specific number of requests. I'm not sure about that one.
Well, I mean, I don't like control C in it, I guess. So
I know you can in Apache benchmark. So
there you go. Reps sounds useful.
-R.
Well, I'm going to add -P, so I want it to print stuff. Concurrent is only 10. I'm okay. In fact, let's just do a concurrency of 1 so we can control what's happening. Let's do reps of, let's just do 1,000 requests. In fact, that's going to take like 1,000 seconds. A concurrency of 1. Let's just do 20 requests for now. time. I don't think we need to worry about delay. I don't think we need to worry about. In fact, I don't think we need to worry about anything else listed here. We happy with that?
Mm-hmm.
All right. Oh, the P is actually printing out the HTML. I just wanted a summary of the request. I didn't actually want the output.
You get the summary of the request once you cancel it off normally.
I was hoping I'd get a running count or something.
Yeah.
Make it a bit more visual. That's not a big deal. Okay. So.
How big's your history on your terminal? Your scroll history? Because all of it. Oh, okay, right, fair enough.
But I'm not fussed. We're not going to do another print. And now I'm going to do this one more time on the correct endpoint. But what's cool there is we can actually see a request. We actually have a spread, a pretty even distribution of spread, to be fair, even at 100 requests. So I don't think triggering a scale is going to be too difficult. I'm actually really surprised at a concurrency of 1 sending 20. That's not right, because we got a lot of requests here. Does it send more than 20? Or does your code not work, Leo?
My code works perfectly. It's a good question. I'm a little concerned about 21 showing up.
Exactly the same.
We either have it's either a very even distribution
or a bug,
or there's a maybe problem. There are no bugs in here.
So we have 20 transactions, all responded correctly, and do we have an average time, response time, roughly? We think that's 300 milliseconds.
Yeah.
Oh, I think there
so
is
it is
a bug.
showing. Yes, so there, because there's 20 requests, right? And we have 21 on everything. Excellent. I knew something would happen.
It's not a big deal for today. We can still all we really want to do is inflate these metrics anyway, and we can still do our testing. But yeah, it looks like the library maybe has a wee bug in it. All right. Yeah, in fact, here's the total request down here. We got 21 on each endpoint. And a few 21s kind of spread across there. Weird bug. But all right. So I actually think the 13 requests that went into here are probably correct. I'm not sure what these other ones are. Maybe it's just a...
I'm confused about it. I'm relying on the Prometheus PHP library, so I'm a little concerned about that.
See how he just delegated that bug to another project?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure if I am just misunderstanding how to use the library. That is quite likely.
Well, you know what? Right now, I'm just happy we have a metrics endpoint that is somewhat working and we can work with today. So
we actually managed to install it this week, which is a progress over the 2 that you tried last week. So
exactly. All right. So you'll work on that. I'm going to work on the service monitor bug over the next week or two, but we can get away with that right now by using the old school annotation approach. So we have metrics. Now we want to be able to scale based on these. So I'll just kind of recap a few things from last week that I think maybe makes sense. Let's pull this down. So we're running Kubernetes. We installed the metrics server. If you didn't see that, go watch last week's episode. The metrics server is what allows us to actually get metrics out of Kubernetes. It gave us resource utilization metrics on CPU and memory. If you want to augment that, you have to use a metrics adapter. And we don't have that installed yet. That's what we have to do now. We did that last week.
Yeah, I think so. Because we put the metrics server on there, and then we tried to get data into it from Prometheus, and that's where we failed.
All right. Okay. So this should just be a case of installing the Helm chart version of the Prometheus adapter. I don't think I need to tweak the values in any way, but we'll see what happens. So the Prometheus adapter gets installed to the cluster, actually gets encapsulated with the metrics server and provides extra endpoints so that we can query the metrics server for the custom metrics from Prometheus. I know it's a really weird setup, but you kind of get used to it. In fact, we can just see if we have any custom metrics available here. Might not be available yet, though. Yeah, not quite ready yet. So we'll give it a few more seconds.
While we wait for this, I can also confirm I am now 97% certain that I am just incompetent at using this Prometheus library, misunderstanding
what you think the bug is.
how to report buckets. So I think that will be an improvement that I will be making after the stream.
All right. You don't want to fix it right now?
I'll try, but I
No.
can't make any promises. And I'm not going to make us spend too much time on pulling in version 0.1.5, 1.6, 7 until it's fixed.
All right. Well, it looks like we're okay now. Our pod is no longer pending any probes. We actually get a response on custom metrics here. There is this really long command that will allow us to query pod metrics from Prometheus. We'll see if it works. So, in fact, I should just share the link that I'm getting this from as well. This was a stream I did a month ago with my friend Guy, who is the chair of SIG AutoScaling, or co-chair of SIG AutoScaling Kubernetes. And this is an AutoScaling example workshop that we did live on the stream. And we're reusing most of these components today. So, in the docs, there's this command which allows us to actually query. So I just need to tweak this, right? So namespace default is fine, all pods, and we're looking for HTTP requests per second, which I believe we don't quite have. Let's copy total.
Also, I can confirm, I can now tell you exactly how the library works. I just looked at the code, and it is kind of correct, actually. You should be getting 21 in all of them, because 0.5 is a longer duration than 0.3. And that's why you're seeing 13 at the lower numbers.
I wouldn't bucket them that way.
No, but as in that is the way the library buckets them, so that's why they appear that way.
All right. I mean, I think that's a bug, but it's not a big deal. All right, what label selector to match? Yeah, okay, so we want app. What was the syntax there? Equals.
It had a %3D, I think.
Did it?
I think it was like the entity first slash, I think.
Yeah, I still got it over here. So. Interesting. So the server could not find the metric HTTP request total. HTTP request total for pods. All right, we'll move on for now. Hopefully it's not a problem. It could be, of course, there's always something, is that maybe I do need to point this towards our Prometheus. Let's see, do we have a service? We do. In fact, let's just pull up that chart. Let's take a quick look rather than speculate. So it is the Prometheus adapter Helm chart. Which is here. In fact, it was the Prometheus community, wasn't it? So this is the chart we installed. We can go to the repository. Nope, this one. Went to the same place. Okay. And do we have the values that we can tweak? Where's the chart? Deploy. Let's just manifest. That's the actual code for the adapter, not the Helm chart. Maybe it was this first one, this deprecated one. Maybe it still just lives in there. Prometheus adapter. Yeah, oh, there we go. That's it. That was a long way about to get there, wasn't it? Anyway, now we can go into the charts. We installed the adapter. We want to look at this values file and just see if there's any configuration that tells it where our Prometheus lives. So we can see here, it actually does expect there to be a Prometheus service, which I do not have. So we can redeploy it with a small tweak to this. And it should fix it. So let's create a quick Prometheus adapter values.yaml. I know I should probably move that into our ops directory, but I'll do it later. And ours is called server. That's right. Yeah. Are we happy with that?
Yep.
Yeah. Prometheus server. Oh, port 80, the service.
Why port 80? Because you were forwarding port 9090 before.
Yeah, that's the pod port, but this service is mapping it to port 80. So.
Oh, okay, right, okay.
So I'm going to reinstall this using a values file, which is there. We already installed it. Upgrade. Okay. Let's wait for that one to get healthy. I guess we'll wait a bit longer then. A lot of waiting in Kubernetes.
I was going to say, this is really the Kubernetes experience.
Yeah, it is definitely. Now, there we go. Okay. So we had a curl request that we had a kube control raw request that we fired away. First one was just to hit this. Yeah, that's looking a lot better actually. Let's see if we get our request total. No. I'm going to assume it's working though. Yeah.
Is the selector definitely app/ and not just Laravel example project? Because the selector, the label we put on the actual deployment doesn't have app/ I don't think.
The label itself is app, right?
Let's just work it out. Let's just set up the AutoScaler, see what happens. I mean, we could always take like we see quite a lot coming back from here. That wasn't coming back last time, so I'm confident that it's speaking to Prometheus. Now, when we use the raw URL, we can extend it to actually go deeper into it, and this is supposed to actually proxy a request on to Prometheus to give us a response. This HTTP request total is a metric name, passing in the selector of app Laravel. I mean, I would expect that to work, but I'm not going to let it hold me up just now. So why don't we create our HPA? We on the same page? That all makes sense. I don't want to jump ahead here.
I think it makes sense. We'll come back to that if it doesn't later.
Okay, so here is our standard HPA. Now, what do we need to tweak here? We'll just continue to call this Laravel example. We have to tell it what to target. We are targeting a deployment. Ours is called Laravel example project, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. We're going to go from 1 to 10, depending on how we need to scale. Metrics are going to come from pods, and then our metric name. So we can copy this. I mean, we can do it from, well, I'm not port forwarding anymore, so we can't. But let's copy it from, just because there's a bit of unknown around how these function, I'll use request total, and we'll just scale depending on an aggregated count of the number of requests, because that's a really smart idea. And what we want to say is that, oh no, it's not really going to work because of the target value. All right, Let's go with the 5
So
seconds.
what's
Yep.
the time frame on the requests total? Is that always increasing, or does it reset back to 0, like daily, hourly? Like, what's the deal on that?
When the pod is restarted, because we're using APCU, then the total will be reset with it.
Right. Okay. So
That
every time you do
total
a
will actually
deployment,
be.
the total gets reset.
Well, yeah, we're actually going to be collecting that from all of the pods. They're all going to have different values. So be a little interesting. But we should get an aggregated
only have one
Prometheus
pod now,
version
don't
of
we?
it. We do only have one just now, yes.
Okay.
Let's just see what happens. We'll set it to, we expect it to be 5. We'll tweak it as we play. Okay. Let's reapply all of our Kubernetes resources. We should see that we have a created HPA. We can query this and we can describe it. HPA, Laravel. I think our selector is maybe wrong. It seems to think we have nothing. What did I get wrong? Deployment. Laravel.
Is it worth checking our deployment to see what the label is on that? Yeah.
Yeah, it does match up.
I'm looking at it, and yeah, it's right. It should work.
Well, that's the story of my life with this Laravel stuff, to be fair. All right. Let's see. Unable to fetch the metrics from the custom metrics API. The server. Okay, so it's trying to request these metrics. Okay, so it's not. Yeah, that makes sense. So why is it unable to get those metrics? Well, we were unable to get them too with raw. So that's not good. Maybe we just got something wrong. So we can always query the big messy one, pipe it to JQ, and try and understand what we're getting back. So I think we're going to need to go through less. JQ. And then I lose my colors. That's annoying. Okay. So not interesting. Not interesting. I wonder if I should just filter it on Laravel. Oh, we're not getting any metrics here.
So I think that's a problem.
Let's just quickly do -I pod.
Because they were coming into Prometheus, right?
Well, let's just double check that's still working. That's for sure. Port forward. Prometheus server. Yep, it's still the same, which means I should be able to refresh this. If we come to graph, then we can do HTTP request total, and we have our 21 requests. If we take a look at our buckets over 20 minutes, graph. Oh, I guess we don't have enough data. But we do have a value, yes. This here, and we got app equals Laravel example project. Now, I mean, in theory, we can use the raw here and just use a metric name without the selector to try and see everything. In fact, if we do, that doesn't work. Let's try that. Yeah, we're not getting anything here.
So how are those being exposed in the metrics API? Is there some additional mapping you need to configure?
You're asking me?
Yes, I'm asking you.
Is it worth killing and redeploying the metric server so to make sure it picks up Prometheus? I don't know. Turn it off and on again.
I thought we did.
No, you killed Prometheus. You didn't kill metric server.
But didn't I do a
Metric server's 83 minutes
upgrade the adapter? Yeah, I'll try it. Why not? Where is our metric server?
Up, down.
Let's just do a wee restart of both of those. Oh, we didn't add the rules. There we go. My fault.
Leo, your Prometheus package, does that handle CLI stuff in the queue as well, or is it just HTTP requests?
Right now, those metrics come from a middleware, so that would only be HTTP requests. I'm not entirely sure what you would want to get from the CLI. Like what metrics you're expecting to get?
Yeah, from a queue, I guess you would expect how long each queue job took and how often it ran.
Yeah, adding it for the queue makes sense. So
yeah. CLI depends whether you've got parts of your system that invoke the CLI, I guess. But then, yeah, less common than other stuff.
Yeah, queue support would make sense.
All right.
You can put middleware on that as well, can't you?
Can you?
Pretty sure that there's middleware for queues because you can. There's the queue like facade thing has a before and after, which you can hook into.
Yeah, I know you can hook into it. So yeah, maybe I'll put that on the feature list after I fix the bug of.
But after fixing, yeah. So what are these rule things that you just put in then, David? Sorry.
Yeah, I forgot a step. So when you configure the custom metrics, it doesn't actually consume all of your metrics within Prometheus. What you actually have to do is tell it which metrics to pull out of Prometheus and then to expose them in a way that can be used in auto-scaling. So what we're actually saying is the series query that we want to use is just pull out all of the HTTP request total. Probably don't even need that. In fact, I'd probably get away with just that. We can take off this, and then we make this available as a name. So we're just going to say that we want to work this out as a rate per second. So we do a sum and a rate over the series, etc.
Right. So if you had, for example, requests per second, requests total, and a few other things, you would need to expose multiple different series queries.
Well, yeah, you would just put in your Prometheus. You can match on the labels. I mean, we could. I don't know if we have these labels Kubernetes namespace. But we can just see. Yeah, we do. Okay, namespace, pod name. So those are available. We can query on that. That means that the metric server will pass it in. And then we actually don't want to query on the request total. This is actually saying that we want to use that value, but what we actually want to do is calculate the rate of change over a 2-minute interval. So we're going to calculate how many requests are made every 2 minutes, and then sum them together across the label matchers, and that gives us a total value of how many requests we get every 2 minutes, which means we can say if we get more than 10 requests in a 2-minute period, we want to scale it, or we can do 1,000 requests in a 2-minute period. And that's actually going to work out really well because we can control those number of requests, and we can actually force that scale up on this. Does that make sense?
Yeah. That metrics query, is that a Prometheus like query language sort of thing?
So this here is a Prometheus query. So am I still port forwarding? Let me just show you in the Prometheus side of things. I think that'll help hopefully cement it. So although we don't really have requests coming in. So let me get one more tab. Let me get some requests coming in with Siege again. Okay, so we can use HTTP request total. We hit go, and then this tells us the requests that we have. And we can see we actually have multiple series here. Why is that?
Different routes.
Yes, okay, Thank you. One's on post and one is on slash. So what we can say here is, okay, we actually want, this is going to climb what we at 41, and it's finished, hasn't it? So we got 21, 41, 55. Right? So that's going to continue to climb, but that's not what we want to scale on. Like, we don't actually care about the big number. We care about the value over time. So we can do a rate like so. Oh, what did I get?
Oh, it might be worth mentioning actually. The numbers that you're mentioning are like the 55 and stuff. I think our faces are covering those numbers on the stream.
Are they? Oh yeah.
Just to throw that curveball at you. Sorry.
I'm doing a rate now. Okay, let's go back to the start. So request total gives me how many requests were made on each endpoint. And we can see the 61 there. I could just put this off for a minute, couldn't I? Hold on. Boop. Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Okay. That's better anyway. I'm sure everyone will agree. So this is just the request total on each endpoint. We can see we have 21 requests on the homepage, 61 requests on posts. Now, because that is a eternally incrementing number, at least for the lifetime of a pod, is that you don't want to scale on 61, or you don't want to scale on 7,000 or 80,000. What we actually care about is the change across the interval. So that's where the rate function comes in, where we can say, okay, let's work out the rate of change on a 5, we don't have a scrape interval of 5, of 30 seconds. And we can see 0. Well, that's right. We're actually probably not pulling in any metrics right now. So let's do 200 requests. And hopefully, if we give this enough time for it to first scrape multiple intervals, which is 10 seconds or 20 seconds, then we should be able to see a rate of change over 30 seconds as a positive value. There we go. So we can see that we had 1.45 requests every 30 seconds. Now it's at 4 requests every 30 seconds. And that will probably continue to change for as long as that siege command runs. Now, because we have multiple endpoints, multiple pods, etc., we can also wrap that in a sum to get a single value, which tells us the number of requests across a 30-second window. And we can decide if that triggers enough anything to scale. Does that all make sense?
Yeah, that does make sense, yeah.
Phew. Now, of course, we're using request total right now because the buckets don't quite add up to what we want. Let's see what we've got. We probably could get away with using that. We can talk about that in a second, though. But right now, we can say, right, we know if we send 200 requests to this, we're going to hit roughly 5 before it starts dropping down. So we could actually say, well, if we get more than 2 requests on a 30-second interval, that is enough for us to want to be able to scale the number of pods up. Cool. Okay, so we're happy with this. We've seen this query run on the Prometheus side. Now what we can do is redeploy the metrics adapter with that value. So it has our custom rule. We should be able to query that using the raw API again. He says, hoping. And we do a rename on this, actually. So what do we rename it to? Requests per second. Yeah, HTTP requests per second. Requests per second. You hate me so much, computer. JQ grep-i HTTP. It is there. Okay. What did I get wrong? Was it just not there yet? Too impatient. Okay. So now we have this custom metric available for the HPA to use. So last step. It's not that easy scaling horizontally in Kubernetes, is it? That will lead me into something I'd like to talk about next, and we'll maybe do an episode on that down the line, but for now it's okay. And that's the CADA project. This simplifies scaling by adding more custom resources you can use, but that's not for now. Okay. So now we look at our HPA. We have this value. No, we don't. We have HTTP requests per second. And we know we can definitely trigger a 5. So I'm going to say if we hit a 3, in fact, we'll say 2.5 is good. So if it goes above that, it should trigger a scaling event. And when it falls below that, it should scale it back down. Does that make sense as well?
Yeah. Is there some kind of like cooldown period where like it doesn't? So if it's hovering around 2.5, 2 to 3, it won't just like create, delete, create, delete, create, delete, or does it just do that and it's fine?
Yes, there is ways to configure that. So what's the best way to check that? Because I can never remember. But I do have auto.
If memory that is configured on the cluster level, right? I don't think, like, if you run in a public cloud, I don't think you have access to change that. There are defaults for it, which is like 3 minutes to scale down or something. I don't remember the numbers off the top of my head.
Yeah, well, just
But
to
there are
prevent
defaults.
people from hammering their systems, I guess.
I was hoping Kube Control Explain would show me it, but it only has the standard spec and not the custom spec. Oh, and that's because that's AutoScaler in V1. V2 beta 1. Okay. Auto scaling V2 beta 1. Is that going to work? I have no idea. There must be a way to provide the API version. Okay. So if we specify the version on the right one, what we want is auto scaling V2 beta 1. We can now see that we have this. Maybe that isn't configurable then.
I assume it's not really much of an issue because Kubernetes handles the scaling side of it for you anyway. So
yeah, it's definitely something that Kata offers. I thought you could do it through custom metrics, but I guess I'm wrong. Anyway, let's see it scale. Like, that's why we're here. So we have a single Laravel thingy running here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to just pop open some new splits so that we can run a watch command. I recently changed this alias from GH, which I know and understand, to GHB because I want to use the GitHub CLI, which is GH. And I know that's completely irrelevant, but it's been frustrating the hell out of me all week. Okay, and it's only Tuesday. Okay. So we can continue to describe. Oh, I reapplied you. Is that old? Old or new? I think they're old. Age 12 minutes, 3 minutes. Yeah. Hopefully those are just old. In fact, that's not even the name of the metric I use anymore. So for a second. Yeah, I think we're good. So we can continue to describe that. We should see the scaling events happen. Now what we want to do is run Siege again. And we also want, I'm going to do one more split, is we want to track the pods as they change over time. So we'll run a watch on that. We're going to run Siege here. And I'm going to describe this every couple of seconds and see if we can see this scaling in real time. Assuming I've not fucked any of that up.
By the way, the default downscale window is 5 minutes. It's in the documentation about horizontal pod autoscaling under support for cooldown and delay. It's an argument you pass. It's a flag on the Kube controller manager, so you do need to have control plane access to change that. And you can only specify the duration of what they call the downscale stabilization time window. So I think upscaling is instant, but it will wait 5 minutes before scaling down.
okay, yeah, that makes sense. So it's the public cloud like manager will be what handles that unless you roll your own Kubernetes clusters.
Yeah, I am not entirely sure off the top of my head. Some providers might allow you to pass arguments to the different control plane components, and that would be how you'd configure it in that case.
Yeah, but that's per provider, so it's down to who you use, I guess. Okay, fair enough. But I assume that whoever you use will have whatever they consider reasonable defaults, so should be fine.
Okay. I think our siege finished before we try and use to trigger that. I'm running it again. We can see we're about 17 here now. We can, good timing there. We have as soon as I ran that describe, we got a rescale event based on our that value going above the 2.5 that we are trying to hit. We can see that it's worked out that we probably won another 4. Unlucky for it, it's going to continue to keep scaling up, but still, it's added 4 new instances. And if we run a get pods, we'll see we now have all the Laravels running. Oh wait, that's the completed ones. All the Laravel projects running. I'm going to quit Siege. We'll run a watch on this again, and we should see within about a minute or two. Well, it's going to be 5 minutes based on what Leo's just told us. That'll scale down. So you've got 5 minutes of dead air to fill. Go.
Now, the first thing I want to say there is it's 5 minutes by default. We are now assuming that Docker Desktop actually relies on that default.
I have no idea.
We will find out if it's 5 minutes.
Well, we're going to finish up. I can't believe that has been an hour and a half almost already. That has.
So, Benko, what's that doing there now? That's started new ones, has it?
Well, the value, I think, on aggregate over time is still above the 2.5. I don't know. It's just fallen, but you'll probably find it's actually scaling more up. And if we describe the HPA, it's done another rescale. Oh, no, that's the first rescale. I think maybe some pods just died.
So we're terminating there.
Yeah. Get pods, grep, Laravel. Yeah, we still got the 5. It just looks like we lost a few for whatever reason. I know why that's going to be. The probes on it are going to be failing because we've not got any metrics, probably. It's probably given a client error or something.
Because there's no actual requests hitting it anymore.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, that's complete speculation at this point in time, but it's plausible. All right. I mean, I think we've shown everything we want to show. I think it's great that Leo has, picked up this project and providing people with a working, almost, Prometheus.
It will be working. I'm debugging it. I'm not going to delay the stream with debugging. Instead, I'll just make it work, and then, by the time someone rewatches this in a week, it's just magically going to work when they pull the latest tag.
Yeah, no, I think you're doing great work. I'm really glad to see that there's a Prometheus auto-wiring super Laravel component that is exposing the metrics that we need. And I think it's still enough there. You can still calculate the number of requests over a given interval and scale just as we have done today. Of course, I would actually like to monitor and keep my +5, plus infinity below 10% or whatever. But that could be something we do in the future. Maybe I can help contribute to the library that you're working on too. Then we got the metrics. We hooked up Prometheus. We added the annotations to the deployment. We scraped the metrics. We deployed the metrics server. We deployed the metrics to the Prometheus adapter. And we deployed the rules that expose the custom metric, configuring the HPA. And that's all it took to get auto-scaling on Kubernetes for Laravel.
Yeah, you make it sound so easy.
I think it would be awesome to take a look at the Cater project and a future stream if you both want to join me for that. It's not something I'm overly familiar with. I've used it. I liked it. I haven't got it in production, but maybe a little bit of an exploration episode where we see if we can simplify this at all, and take another look at the configuring the buckets and stuff. I think there's a lot more we can do here to make this easier for people. So I'm excited to do that in future episodes.
No, I'm up for that. Sounds good.
Awesome. Well, thank you both for joining me today, working through that. I hope the people watching got something of value from it this time. I know last week's was very frustrating for the people that watched 2 hours only to be like, what the fuck was that? Hopefully we fixed it this time, and that library was very helpful. Is there anything either of you would like to say before we wrap up for today?
The library will work correctly eventually. That's all I have to say.
And it's open source, accepting contributions. Go check it out, try it out. Let's help Leo by working out where the cracks are and filing issues.
Accepting pull requests.
All right. You two have a great day. I'll speak to you both soon. And thanks to everyone that watched. I'll see you later.
Thanks. Bye.
Thanks a lot. See you.